Get ready to dive into the comic book realm where heroes rise and villains take the helm. We're here to dissect the stories and the art. On source material, we tear the panels apart.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Source Material Comics Podcast. I am your host, Jesse Starcher. We have returned, and when I say we, I'm talking about Sedano of the Adam, Warlock, and Thanos podcast. Al, welcome back. We're talking Quantum and Woody. We're finishing up this first volume, dude. It's third volume. Third volume. Well, let's try this. First series, is that better?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. That's what I'm looking for.
There's only one thing you have to remember. Jesus on that main line, tell him what you want. Jesus is on that main line, tell him what you want.
Oh, that will drive a man insane right there. Quantum and Woody, Christopher Priest, M.D. Bright. This series was a revelation when we first talked about it for me because I hadn't had a chance to read it. The amount of fun this book has been. We did our second volume. It's been a while. We recorded a few months back, and now we're getting into the third and final set of issues to round out this first series because they have relaunched a little bit since then. I think, has there been one or two relaunches since this?
Well, there's two different relaunches. Valiant relaunched the company completely several years ago, and Quantum Woody was part of that relaunch, mostly reimagining. New creative team, new basic. Quantum Woody were actually brothers or stepbrothers.
That's right.
Brothers.
Right.
Woody was adopted by Quantum's dad as kids, so they grew up together. So, and it is somewhat different. But then there also, at some point, was a Q2. It was called Q2: The Return of Quantum Woody, 5-issue miniseries by Priest and Bright, which basically kind of ended a story of the original version, this version of Quantum Woody, having them several years older in their late 30s, early 40s. I believe it's supposed to take place in the year it came out, like 2015 or something.
Gotcha. So we're going to do 14, 15, 16, 17. We're going to talk about those first. Our creative team, Christopher Priest writing, penciled by M.D. Bright, Greg Adams on inks, Dave Lanfear on letters with Shaban Hanna helping out number 14 through 16, and colorist Dennis Calero. Our story titles here are War, Peace, Fear, and Hate. This is a 4-part story called Magnum Force. Okay.
This kind of does work as a wrap up for this initial part of the series because it ties in all the stuff that had happened beforehand. All the relevant stuff has come in. Terrence Magnum, who was like the guy they fought like the first issue or two, plus, what happened to Taylor and Woody coming out and telling Eric why they're doing all this and the fact that it's all his fault and we should stop afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is like coming to a head. I mean, didn't want it to be canceled, but honestly, not a bad spot to end.
Because maybe this is somebody's first episode. You never know. They come into the part 3 of what we're talking about. Just do your best to kind of describe who Quantum and Woody are.
Quantum Woody are best friends. They just half the time hate each other, who have been estranged for several years. Their fathers both worked at some kind of high-tech lab, and their dads died in a mysterious explosion, and they both were in their lab that night, and there was an accident, and now they both have quantum-esque energy powers. The problem is it's changing them into energy, and if they have control bands, they have to wear on each one on their arms. And if they don't clang them together once every 24 hours, they will vanish from existence. So half the time they can't stand each other, but they can't live more than, they can't be more than a couple hours away from each other at best every day.
As much as you like a person, sometimes it's tough to be tied to them for that long. Oh, well, I'm tied to you for the rest of my life. No matter what, there's going to be a time where I have to see you within a 24 hours period every single day.
Especially when both of them have major issues. Yeah. They both have issues. And come on, Woody's life. Think about it.
They're trying to work through a lot of stuff. And it's fun to watch them do that. It's fun to watch Priest have these characters, especially Woody. As we're getting into this 4-part series here, Woody most of the time has been this Joker. But now this event with Taylor, where Taylor got murdered, has just flipped a switch in him. And
he is angry.
Yeah, he is out for blood.
He is angry at Eric. He's angry at Terrence Magnum, and he's angry at himself.
Yeah, so we're at a point where what we were used to in some of the previous issues has kind of turned around for one of our main characters. Usually the big jokester, most of the humor in this book revolves around him. You've got Eric, who's definitely straight-laced, trying to get the almost a Batman-esque type.
He's trying to be Batman. It's like Batman if he was stuck teaming up with Ambush Bug.
Okay, well, let's get into the synopsis here. Sit back, relax. I got a few paragraphs to read. It won't be too long. I'm basically taking all 4 issues here. Want to rocket right through them, and then we'll have our notes here at the end. So issue 14 begins with Quantum and Woody crashing into action, guns blazing and one-liners flying in hot pursuit of vengeance. Woody is dead set on taking out Terrence Magnum, the man responsible for the death of Taylor. Eric urges caution, but Woody's boiling rage won't be held back. Their assault on Magnum's compound is full of over-the-top chaos. Rubber bullets, energy cloaks, flying sleds, and goat-eaten instruction manuals. But underneath the comedy, there's a real emotional weight. Eric tries to steer the mission with responsibility while Woody starts confronting the guilt he's masked behind jokes. As they fight their way through layers of Magnum's defenses, they realize they're not just under attack, they're being tested. Magnum has turned their rampage into a demonstration for potential buyers, showing off his weapons, using Quantum and Woody as unwilling pawns. Woody's fury explodes when he confronts Magnum directly, accusing him not just of murder, but of exploiting his guilt and turning him into a weapon. And the emotional climax hits hard. Woody's powers erupt with a strange, uncontrollable surge of energy, just as he collapsed from exhaustion. In issue 15, the story opens with Quantum and Woody captured, unconscious in containment tubes, while a mysterious and unstable villain named Mr. Locke is tormented by a surreal gospel chant, one that hilariously turns out to be coming from Woody. Locke's frustration grows as Woody refuses to shut up, provoking him with mockery and gospel riffs. Meanwhile, Quantum wakes to a goat on his chest, and Woody riffing on villain cliches, all while they remain imprisoned. Their allies, Tempest and Citadel, I say ally, definitely Tempest. I don't know about Citadel.
Citadel is that guy from the Goat. This is that scene from the Goat one shot.
Right. Yeah. Citadel arrived trying to get them out of there. When he confronts Mr. Locke, things escalate into a chaotic firefight, and it's revealed they're now dealing with a far more powerful figure. As Quantum and Woody attempt to escape, Warlock proves relentless, hunting them through a deadly training facility. They engage in a desperate battle, using their powers to seemingly destroy him in a brilliant energy blast, but it doesn't stick. Warlock reforms, more monstrous than before, facing the duo into one last gambit, a cataclysmic energy surge that devastates the facility. The issue ends with the base obliterated in a mushroom cloud and a chilling tease. If next issue comes out, it means someone survived. In the strange epilogue, Warlock is somehow still alive, wandering through the wreckage, obsessively muttering about ducks and destruction, while Quantum and Woody, buried in debris but alive, exchange absurd banter about their condition, power bands, and each other's sanity. 16 begins in the aftermath of the explosion, with Quantum and Woody once again trapped, this time suspended above a vat of toxic sludge, while the increasingly unstable Warlock mutters "kill them" like a broken record. As Eric silently tries to work a solution, Woody panics, cracking jokes, and with that thinly veil genuine fear. The tension breaks when Eric begins praying and Woody desperately lights a fire. What follows is another spectacular explosion, launching them skyward in a pod that crash lands on a snowy mountainside. The wreckage flings them off a cliff, and Eric barely manages to catch Woody's hand before he falls to his death. As Eric clings to the edge, a flashback to their childhood at a pool overlays the current danger, revealing deep-seated fear and friendship, and culminating in Eric summoning the strength to pull Woody to safety. But their ordeal isn't over. Helicopters attack, separating the two. Woody barely escapes, only to run into a trap until Warlock returns, out of control, destroying everything. Woody flees on a sled, but guilt gnaws at him. Just as he questions if he abandoned Eric, he crashes right into his furious partner. Eric accuses Woody of self-centeredness, and Woody counters with emotional honesty, confessing everything he's done has been for Eric. Despite the shouting, there's resolution in the cold silence that follows. The tension breaks with the soft click of their control bands still deactivated, a silent agreement that through all the insults and trauma, they no longer need to be in each other's company. Without another word, the two rocket away from each other across the snowy landscape, small figures against the vast, empty aftermath of their explosive misadventure. And finally, in issue 17, we have a chaotic and explosive close to this story, both literally and thematically. It opens with the villainous Terrence Magnum seated in a hover chair atop a snowy peak, celebrating his victory. Despite being physically broken, Magnum feels more alive than ever, his boredom replaced by a renewed lust for purpose, thanks to the havoc Quantum and Woody brought into his life. Now he sets his sight on a grander goal, economic domination using the quantum bands. But down below, Eric is barely surviving in the wilderness, fending off wolves with raw grit, reflecting on the trials that have shaped him, his heart condition, his stubbornness, and the estranged bond with Woody. Eric's defiance is tested again when Warlock, once presumed dead, we didn't know where he went, reemerges. His body.
I call him Warlocky. There's an E at the end because otherwise that might be copyright infringement.
I like it. Still bound by loyalty to Magnum, Warlocky engages Eric in a tense standoff, but their clash is interrupted when Magnum's own troops attack, revealing he's discarded Warlock like a faulty prototype. Woody finally reappears in classic last-second fashion, punching Warlock out cold with a quip and a grin. The goat, Vincent, teleports them back home where a rested, well-fed Woody admits he's been home for quite a while.
Eric is stuck up there for 3 days. Woody was teleported away after an hour.
After an hour, right.
Yeah. He watched some TV, he ate, he showered.
Had himself a time. The pair squabble, but it's clear their emotional wounds are still raw. As the duo regroups with allies like Tempest and Agent... Oh my goodness, I can't remember the other girl. The egghead. Holly? Yes.
She was Warren's ex-girlfriend and his former professor.
Yeah. As the duo regroups with their allies, they discover Magnum's true endgame hidden in a replica of their father's lab. The villain lured them there to steal their powers and triggered the God Machine, a force meant to rewrite reality through the fusion of their bands. Magnum gloats, gas floods the chamber, and a trap is sprung. But Eric had set his own trap, turning Magnum's own tech against him. As Magnum begins to transform, drunk on power, his body can't handle the overload. The system collapses in a cascade of sparks and energy, ending Magnum's ambitions in a spectacular meltdown. With the control bands now free, the two heroes argue amid the rubble. Woody demands an apology and ice cream. But the final moment comes with an unexpected twist. A phone rings. Woody picks up, makes a joke, and then goes pale. When Eric asks what's wrong, Woody drops the bomb. We've been canceled. In a brilliant bit of meta commentary, the final page mocks the very idea of the next issue, telling readers it's over and to spend their money on a Batman title instead. And just like that, Quantum and Woody ends not with the birth of gods, but with two dysfunctional heroes standing in debris, cracking jokes, and facing editorial oblivion. So there we go. My goodness, I need to take a drink.
A lot of stuff happens in those 4 issues.
A lot of stuff does. Like I said, we start this thing out mainly focused on watching Woody. He's gone searching for Magnum, and he's going to hurt him.
Well, the thing is, it's kind of scary with Woody because it's not like Woody's treating this like normal. The only time he just starts screaming and yelling like a lunatic to kill people is when he's actually trying to trick Eric to get him to leave him alone so he can go after Magnum himself. Right. He actually is like, no, he is very, it's scary that he's very lucid of what he's doing. He's like, this is my fault. I have this kid's death on my conscience. I'd rather have the guy who killed him, his death on my conscience. So I want to kill him. I don't want rubber bullets. I want to kill his people, and I want to kill him. I understand what I'm saying. It's one thing if like he goes into like Wolverine Berserker Rage, doesn't realize what he's doing, snickety snick. It's another thing to say, no, I'm going to murder that person.
Yeah.
And I understand the cost, everything involves that, but I don't care. I will murder them.
Yeah, they're going to pay for what they had done. Oh, man. It definitely is. Like I said before, Woody's switch has been flipped. We're past that now. He's been hurt, and he wants to make sure that somebody answers for what happened to Taylor. All right, running down my notes, we went through 4 issues here. I love how we open things up with a little bit of flashback. Every Quantum and Woody issue breaks things down, flashes back, and has those little titles at the top of what we're about to get into. The first one is Retread City, which is funny because we go back and we get a nice little flashback to what's happened. I love this book's self-aware style.
And this flashback is important.
Right.
Because it tells us why Woody knows that one guy later on who is in disguise is Magnum. Yeah. It's what he says there. when they flash back to when they first caught him, Magnum says, every man must know his limitations. Therefore, when they break into his place and there's that one tech guy who's like, I'm not the fighting guy.
Yeah.
Every guy's got to know his limitations. Woody's like, oh, that's you. I'm going to come back and kill you. When Eric's like, once I find something to keep Eric busy, I'm coming back.
Right, dude. That's one of my notes here. You watch him, he basically flips and almost kills this guy. If it wasn't for the fact that he passes out or something happens,
yeah, he would have killed him.
He is in the middle of pummeling him. And there's one panel where you see Magnum's face and it looks like it's barely put together. He's just hammering the crap out of him.
Yeah, that's why he's in that chair. It's not that he's, I'm rich and I can have a hover chair. It's because I can't walk, probably.
He cannot. He got that messed up. But yeah, the other note that I had here, we've already been talking about. Woody just being consumed with regret with what happened to Taylor is what drives a lot of this. Watching him manipulate Quantum, number one, it was kind of funny, but number two, it was kind of like, oh, geez, he doesn't even want the good angel, bad angel thing to talk him out of this. He knows Quantum would talk him out of it. So he tricks him into facing this one guy and then takes off, just like you were talking about earlier. He's off to satisfy his own agenda.
He just starts screaming, kill them all. And Quantum shoves him away and shuts the doors like, you're too emotional. And he just starts going, kill them. God, you're so easy.
Not that as a reader, you're like, oh man, here he goes. He's gone insane. And then you realize, no, he did that on purpose just to get Quantum off of his back.
Because he realized who that guy was. He's like, I got to go back and deal with him. So you stay busy with this costume fool.
Yeah. Beats the crap out of Magnum.
Those 2 pages are vicious. The way they put Magnum's face in like that one top panel where their faces are mostly silhouetted, mostly in dark. And you can see Magnum's mouth and it does not have all the teeth.
They're gone, right. So, okay, that's kind of where that issue ends. I think Woody passes out. And is it Warlock? I assume Warlock's the one dragging both up into that room.
Because it looks like his costume, except with a hood on to not see his face.
Yeah, okay. We have I was kind of following in the omnibus, I believe. That's where you were kind of getting those extra stories.
Like little extra bits that they didn't have in the original issues.
Right. So after the end of that issue, we have something called Jabba and the Wet Thong.
Yes, teenage Woody's philosophy of life. Nipplage is the only reality in life. All else is illusion.
I really wanted to take a look at this and try to understand what exactly was going on. I mean, I understand that there's just one moment. Okay, so Woody's being his goofy self, coming up with this philosophy of life, talking about how spandex is that one little veil between the promised land and from actually seeing a body part. But there's a moment where Eric goes off, and this is younger, just like you said, younger.
They're
Eric,
teenagers.
Eric walks off and he looks at his hands. A lot of what we discussed with this book, it has been kind of, we have Eric suffering a lot of, not so much this latter part, this third volume, but previously there was a lot of racism.
I mean, it's silent, but I mean, considering who both creators are African-American, or at least for MD Bright was, since he sadly passed away. And the fact is, Priest is a smart writer and he knows how to put this stuff in there. So, it's intentional. So there's an intent in there. You just got to kind of figure, and this one is a little harder to figure out because there's no captions, there's no word bubbles, right. There's no thought bubbles. It's almost like Eric's looking at himself and looking at everyone else around him near where they live in Connecticut.
Right.
And being like, looking at all the white people and then looking at himself.
Yeah.
Almost like looking at like he's Waldo or something. He's the one that stands out from everyone else.
I think the hardest part for me was I was trying to relate it back to what Woody was saying. And Woody was just relaying all this kind of goofy stuff. But I think the core of what he was trying to get across was something along the lines of there's something deeper out there. Maybe that's what's going through Eric's head is like, skin color doesn't matter. It shouldn't, I had no idea. Again, this was one of the cut pages that didn't make it into the actual issue itself, but it got printed in the omnibus. So I thought that was interesting just for, 2 pages?
Yeah.
Something that stuck out to me. I wonder what he's trying to say here.
Well, I also wonder, considering how much Woody babbles on about nipplage and women and also slightly homophobic things. Considering someone like me writing this, it would just be very surface. With someone like Priest, I'm wondering if there's a little bit of repressed bisexuality in Woody that is coming out this way. Because it kind of does read that way. And with someone like Priest, that would be intentional.
Yeah.
Because the man knows how to do that crap. So
he does.
I was wondering if that's what that all is.
I can't remember which issue this is, where they are having a conversation with the reader, talking about what is funny and what is not funny. Like they have a blackboard there that kind of breaks down what is funny and what's not funny. I'm going to share my screen.
I don't remember that one in this volume.
So this is an ad for their first trade.
KYAG, yes, the first trade paperback. Well, I like that. Funny. Giffin's Justice League. He's right. It is.
Yes. And we got Giffin's Justice League. We've got the goat, which that's funny. I didn't realize until I did the research that the goat wasn't something they were planning on keeping around.
Nope.
And it was all like fan. They had a lot of fans. People were like, hey, we want to see the goat. So they made it a thing, which is awesome.
As much as the 90s became more extreme and hardcore, people are still like, ooh, super pets.
Yeah, right.
You want super pets.
We've got Gru. So this is under funny. Gru, and then we have Quantum and Woody number 4, which is probably the most infamous issue of this series.
That's the Noogie issue.
Yep.
Yep, that was funny.
Payer's Magnus?
Oh, Tom Payer's Magnus, probably, because Tom Payer was the writer of Magnus Robot Fighter during the second incarnation of Valiant, which I haven't read, but I probably should at some point, because I do like Tom Payer's writing for the most part.
Okay. Then we have Power Man and Iron Fist, which we know that these guys have a little bit of history.
Yep.
Then we have the Troublemakers, which I think we met our last.
Yeah, those like the kids.
Right.
That was like the kid team or something.
Now on the not funny side, hot takes. Here we go, I guess. Morrison's Justice League, which that is pretty serious.
Funny. I mean, not funny does not mean bad. It just means not funny.
Right. Lockjaw, like we're just going to say we're the Inhuman dog.
The doggy? I mean, he's not funny. He's cute.
Well, I guess when we're looking at a comparison here, we have the goat or Lockjaw. Which one is funnier?
Yeah, to be fair, I think Lockjaw is pretty funny. You got this giant bulldog. That's kind of funny.
So we should probably pay attention to what's over here on the funny list, because the next one is Peter David, though he looks like Gru. So then we have Quantum and Woody number 5, which I don't remember what happened in Quantum and Woody number 5, but it says, all right, we admit it. I don't know if there was something that wasn't funny that happened there. I have no idea. Can't remember. Yeah. So $90 for 12 new KC pages. Okay, well, yeah, I guess that's not funny. It must be pretty expensive. So we had Payer's Magnus over here on the funny side, and on the not funny side, we had VH1 Magnus, the guy in the skirt.
That Valiant Heroes 1, the first incarnation of the Valiant universe. Yeah,
so
and he was not funny.
Very early 90s. Okay.
Yes.
And then not funny compared to Power Man and Iron Fist, Heroes for Hire is apparently not funny. All right, then. And
they could be the 90s revival of the Heroes for Hire title, which lasted like 19 issues and had Power Man and Iron Fist, and I think it had Hercules and the original Human Torch, a new White Tiger, and a few other characters.
We covered that on Unspoken Issues a few episodes back. At the end of issue 1, I think Iron Fist goes to talk to Power Man and be like, come on, man, we need your help. And he's like, nah. Finally, on the not funny side, we have Speedball compared to the Troublemakers.
I can't talk about the Speedball ongoing, but Speedball was amusing, I thought, in New Warriors.
Oh, yeah.
Funny is always subjective.
Apparently just an ad for Kiss Your Ass Goodbye. Buy it, get your lettuce out of your donkey. All right, then. Way under $90 and not one painting of Alex Ross's dad. That's actually pretty meta.
Wait. Go back to what that said. $90 for what?
It says way under $90 and not one painting.
No. On the list of the not funny.
$90 for what looks to be 12 new KC pages.
Okay, I am going to guess based on the thing they said about Alex Ross's dad, there must have been some kind of Kingdom Come, probably new collection.
Oh.
And I remember there being in one of the collections, there was like a extra pages, like an extra version. I think it's Superman going to see the New Gods or something. Some characters that originally weren't in the original miniseries. Wow. So probably it was like $90 for this hardcover. He's like, yeah, $90 to get an additional 12 pages.
That's amazing. Well,
that's my guess what that is.
That's probably a good guess, in my opinion. Well, there you go. So that didn't affect the issue in any way.
That was fun to see. I'm glad you showed me that. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right. Now, as we proceed, let me zoom back out. Okay. I mean, we already talked about the singing, so I'm not going to talk about that. We talked about the crossover with the goat, which was awesome to kind of see that happen. It happens almost exactly Yeah.
The GOAT one shot. Yeah. I do like the fact in the singing, though, Woody actually uses his brain here, if you notice.
Right.
I mean, he's using it to be a dick, but he's using it like, I'm going to kill you. He's like, if you don't stop singing, he's like, no, you're not. You would have killed me already. Need me alive, obviously. So, no. Sing a chorus with me, and I will shut up. And then, obviously, Locke is too self-important to do that. The next thing you see is him in his bed with pillows over his head trying to ignore the singing. Because he would have shut up probably if he sang with him. But he didn't.
No, he did not. Woody and his gay supervillains. He just goes on and on about how supervillains are gay. And then there's that one point.
I am a supervillain. Oh, it's like, I can't believe we have a supervillain. What the hell's wrong with this world?
Citadel, when Citadel leaves, he's like, see, that guy's gay. I mean, it was just like, dude, again.
Yeah, it's too much. There's a little too much there. Enough hiding, Woody. Just relax.
Right. Warlock's strange power set, like, I just couldn't understand what in the world, like, he seemed like he turned into goop. And then
I think he's similar to them, except he has a little bit more control, which is why he can change his body to almost at times be not human, and that's how he goes through those pipes.
Okay. After the explosion, it's almost like Quantum points it out. He's lost his control over that because he's holding a chain, and every once in a while, as he's muttering, he just disappears and the chain lowers a little bit and he comes back. I don't know if that's on purpose or if he just cannot keep
I think he's losing it.
All right. That was kind of what I was thinking too. Canned crash spray makes a return. It's just quickly mentioned
in that last issue when they go into Magnus's base lab in Paris.
Right. They go into the lab
and set up exactly like their dad's lab, including with the music, even the same CDs.
Right. He talks, and Woody says, where we learned about canned crash spray, which is apparently a way that you can, like, CDs can't carry that, but I think albums can. I think it's what they were trying to say, or something.
Well, it was like a digital, right? It was the symbols where it sounds very even, as opposed to a live symbol. You can hear it means the symbols are also very even completely, like the way the whole sound goes.
Must have been a very important conversation that Priest had with somebody about that for that joke to make it back into the later issues, which is fine with. I learned something from this.
Yeah, I never knew what that was, and until I looked it up, I'm like, that's what that is.
And then I wrote down the God Machine, which was, it was for what we got here. Clearly, Magnum's big plan here is to get this massive power. Quantum and Woody weren't meant to share this power. It was all supposed to be for one person, right?
Which is kind of like what happened with Warrant. That's why he can fly out and go hang out on the moon.
Just hanging out on the moon.
And that was the whole purpose. That's why Magnum didn't care that he was, beaten half to death. He's planning on getting godlike power. What do I care if I get, this is worth it.
Right. And then we get our final part of this book, which feels like it comes out of the blue. They're canceled. Just like you said, it's a good spot to end it. But if you were picking this up, that would have been a hit.
And it's not Priest's fault. It's all Valiant's fault. They shut everything down.
Yeah, this is a situation where the publisher shut everything down at that point.
I believe so. That's what it said.
As a reader, you're sitting there. This is a good book. This is a fun book. It's funny. And it's not too often that you pick up a comic book and it makes you laugh while you're enjoying the action along with it. But to have it be canceled like that, that's rough. That's really tough.
I'm forgetting exactly where I saw it, but I'm looking on Priest's old website. Mm-hmm. And for when this is him talking about it when it gets canceled the final time. And it said when it gets canceled again with issue 21, he says, then something odd happened. Acclaim went away again.
That's crazy.
So that to me says, if they went away again, that means they went away the first time. I remember that kind of happening because I was reading this and maybe one or two other titles from them. They had some issues and had to go away for a while. And then they came back and, we have new money and everything's good. We're ready for we're good for a year. And then 5 months later, everything went away, including they were doing a big miniseries called Unity 2000.
2000, right.
Which was like a sort of sequel to the original Unity crossover in the original Valiant and was actually going to have some characters from the original Unity, from the original Valiant and the new Valiant. They had Jim Shooter come back to write it. Then it ended canceled with issue 3 because the entire line just went away.
I'll read to you what I had here. We've been canceled. Quantum and Woody's initial run came to an abrupt end with issue 17, dated October of 98. The cancellation was not due to any creative shortfall. It was largely about sales in the market. By issue 17, Quantum and Woody was selling in the low to mid-range for an indie book. Despite rave reviews and a devoted fan base, it had achieved the sales buzz needed to satisfy Acclaim's business side. Priest had been hopeful that critical acclaim would translate into strong numbers, but the reality was a book hovering below the profitability threshold in a shrinking market. Internally, Acclaim also started cutting back. 1998 saw the company reevaluate its comics line. The industry downturn continued. Yeah, this is not a fun year at all for comic books, especially in the late 90s. Quantum and Woody was another lamented child of the 1990s, beloved by its readers, but victim to the era's market contraction. So, okay. I'm going to step back here, Al, because I pretty much got all my notes out of the way here about the 4 that we talked about. Was there anything I left off?
No, I was checking some stuff. I know several of the other books were canceled around the same time. Ninjak only made it 12 issues. Troublemakers only made it to 19. I think Magnus only made 17 or 18. A lot of the books got canceled around this time, and then they brought them back briefly. I don't remember there being much more I had to say. I mean, except for the fact that, Woody did leave Eric up there for 3 days, but to be fair, he did say, I was trying to find you, but the goat found me. I didn't know where you were. He doesn't, you can't really make a goat go where he doesn't want to. Maybe if you fed him sometimes, he would want to look for you. He's like, I got them to help try and find you. That's how we found you eventually. He's like, I got Tempest and, Holly.
Yeah.
I figured, what was I going to do? Just sit there. Woody's not the kind of guy to sit there and be panicked. He's like, all right, they're working on it. There's nothing I can do. I'm going to go take a shower and watch some Deep Space Nine.
And to watch these two really have it out. As far as the cancellation happening, these two are kind of coming back together and facing Magnum at the end of this. Quantum getting one over on Magnum and Magnum, getting burned up by this power. But there's nothing resolved between these two. There's still all this baggage that both these guys are carrying, and you, as a reader, wanted to see them work through it or, get past it, something, and it just kind of doesn't happen. And I think that's probably one of the biggest regrets that I would have had. We watched these two guys, we followed them for this long of a time, and now
you finally get Woody, telling him I thought we were done being superheroes, quote unquote, in a week. This was just to help you get through crap because your parents dropped you on your head too much and screwed up my best friend. I was trying to give you something for a little bit, and hopefully, you do something, go to something else more healthy later on.
I didn't realize that was going to actually be almost something that comes back later.
Oh, God. I forgot about some of the stuff in those last few issues. Their families are completely messed up. I mean, the first part of the series, you kind of think Eric has this much better life. And financially, he does, for the most part, growing up, as opposed to Woody. But they had 4 horrible parents.
Right. Yeah, I have a couple things on that. That's some crazy stuff.
When we get to that part. But all 4 of their parents are just one degree after another of crappy.
Right. Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, as a childhood trauma, you either deal with it, which a lot of people find ways to deal with it, but it can mess you up. And it wouldn't surprise me the way we get a small glimpse into the backstory of their parents, that they are the way they are. So,
yeah.
All right, let's get into issue 32.
Everyone's like, wait, what? 17 and 32?
Yeah. Issue 32, according to Mike's Amazing World of Comics, drops September of 1999. Story is titled The Mirror Has 4 Faces. Our creative team, we have Christopher Priest, MD Bright on pencils, inked by Greg Adams, colored by Wendy Fouts Broom. So, okay, we're jumping to issue 32. The first thing that goes through my head, if I was collecting this, I would have been like, did I miss something? Most likely I didn't. Also, being a big Image fan, I remember Images of Tomorrow. That was something where they went ahead like a year. I think it was a year's worth of publication, like 12 issues.
They jumped to issue 25.
So that's kind of what I was thinking about. It's like we kind of get a glimpse of what's going to happen.
What was the plan here? Because this is the issue that would have been out if the book had never been canceled. It would have gone up to 32 that month. So that's the book they put out. And then the plan was to then jump back and start releasing 18, 19, etc., and get up to 30. That would lead right into 32. Fortunately, they got canceled again with it after issue 21.
It's a rough period of time for publishers. Valiant, Acclaim, whatever. I never did understand. I'm sure other people do better than I do, but I didn't understand their business model. It's Acclaim. After all, their idea is to, any place I see Acclaim, it's video games.
Yeah, they did make video games using this like an IP farm. There was a Turok game, which was huge back then. Shadow Man had a game, like a couple of the characters. I remember reading that one of their games didn't do very well and caused the company a lot of money. I guess this was one of the ways they cut their costs by canceling the comic line. So the beginning of issue 32 has a previously to tell you what was happening before, because this is Eclipse part 3 of 4. Previously, returning from the moon, Quantum and Woody narrowly survived Dr. Eclipse's onslaught that left them pinned under the wreckage of their space shuttle. Using their combined quantum energy and a little timely chewing from their intrepid mascot, the heroes escaped to pursue Master Dark's evil minion through the labyrinth bowels of New York City in a risky attempt to wear Dr. Eclipse down by forcing him to drain his powers to below nominal levels. The desperate battles extracted a price on both the heroes and their archenemy, who they finally cornered in a Chelsea alleyway.
All right. Now, one thing, I hear the name Master Dark, and I'm like, oh, that's a name that rings a bell for me. I know we had Citadel popping up here last set of issues, but regardless, Master Dark is like, when I was reading Valiant, I was in the earlier part of things. Master Dark was in there, Shadow Man, all that.
He was the big bad guy.
He was one of the big bad guys. So, hearing his name, I'm like, oh, okay. Now they're starting to flirt with other people in the Valiant universe. This should be fun. But regardless, that 1-page rundown, my gosh, did a lot happen, and they had to kind of get you ready for this. Just like you said, it's weird being dropped into part 3 of 4. What the heck is going on?
And it's like a year, 12 or 15 issues later than what you had started, because we left at 17 and now we're 32. And it's like, wait, they have a space shuttle?
Space shuttles? Who's Dr. Eclipse?
Dr. Eclipse, which I remember him kind of from the original Valiant. He was like the evil version of Solar.
Okay. All right. Well, here we go. The boys are back. Kicking off with a bleakly hilarious meta gag, the issue opens on Vincent the Goat sitting in a cardboard box under a dusty photo of the absent heroes, which, by the way, I think this might have been the preview.
A preview ad from Diamond, it said, which is basically them getting harassing phone calls from creditors and other comic companies telling them to go to hell until they finally got a call back saying, hey, the book's being renewed. You were kidding about living in a Maytag box, right?
Nope, they were not. Okay, so as our story starts in 32, Quantum has a sidekick, a young black girl with energy, confidence, and skills to match, also going by the name of Woody. They've barely survived a moon mission and are now battling Dr. Eclipse in New York's underworld. With battered bodies and fading stamina, they corner their foe in a sewer-adjacent alley for one last face-off. Eclipse escapes again. Meanwhile, Dr. Eclipse, revealed to be the original Woody, now fully corrupted in some way, I guess you would say. An absurd villainous comeback complete with guitar solos and an explosive argument with Amy.
His wife, Amy. He's married her.
Their relationship, once genuine, has curdled into regret and rage.
Help when you have a spouse that is made of like energy, so it doesn't really matter what you do to them. It's not going to hurt them. So when they're annoying you with playing their guitar that loud and that badly, you could just shoot them. They go, what?
Behind the chaos, a mysterious artifact threatens to rewrite reality itself. We don't really get much of an explanation as to what this thing is. As a matter of fact, I think it's called the Thing a couple times. I don't know if we even, is there anything that kind of like shed some light as to what it was?
No, not yet. In fact, in Priest's website, he does talk about the changes to give us an idea of who the new Woody is and what happened and why and all that. Mm-hmm. But he doesn't even say what the MacGuffin is. He says he's not going to say, he's holding on to it because at the time this website was written in 2001. He was still hoping maybe they can come back, because they apparently had up to issue 27 done.
Behind the chaos, a mysterious artifact threatens to rewrite reality itself, forcing Quantum and his allies to gamble everything on a dangerous plan to sever Eclipse from his power. Explosions, emotional reckonings, and goat-based teleportation ensue. As the final battle looms, the fate of the universe hangs in the hands of a man burdened by guilt and a former hero consumed by madness. In true Quantum and Woody fashion, the curtain rises on a showdown that it's going to be as ridiculous as it is apocalyptic. All right. We just got one issue here. We're not going to be talking about another 4-part arc because we're jumping back here in a second. But yeah, here's my notes. So I'm going through the issue. Is that Joe? Are you going to say that may be Joe Tomorrow behind the desk as the police chief, even though his name?
I think that's him. I think it's the same Joe.
That's what I was thinking too.
Something has changed. The last we saw, which we'll see him in like issue 18, he's been downgraded to be traffic cop. Not even traffic cop. Secure
crossing guard.
Crossing guard. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
So something happened. I'm assuming that's him.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
If you want to know some of the changes now, since this is where the changes happen.
Go for it, man.
Okay, that is Woody's daughter. She's supposed to show up in like issue 26 or 27. It was kind of like, hi, hey, do you remember whatever her mom's name was about 16 years and 9 months ago? Guess what? You got a kid. And apparently at the end of issue 21, Eric is going to get extra powers. And Woody's convinced that Eric's losing it. And he goes to he met Turok at some point. And Turok introduced him to Shadow Man, who introduced him to Master Dark, who's like, I will give you powers to rival your friend so you can help him in exchange for your soul. And Woody's like, that doesn't exist. So you're basically going to give it to me for nothing. So they're both trying to save each other because they both think the other one's wrong. And Woody is playing the villain while Eric is playing the hero, both trying to save the other.
I didn't really get villainous vibes from Woody throughout the issue. It was more like he was just like a thorn in Quantum's side, and I didn't completely understand why. I just knew that these two were going to go at it, and each time they get in front of each other, they're going to start punching each other.
See, if you saw that splash page, the goat is flying.
Yes, the goat is flying. I remember that being said.
Quantum willed it, and it may or may not be the original Vincent.
Oh, okay. So we might have a different goat.
So according to Priest's website here, the boys have a big aerial fight which causes a jetliner to crash into the East River, nearly destroying their headquarters in the process and seriously injuring Vincent Van Gogh. This was to lead to a big stunt. 1-900 goat live or 1-900 goat die.
I remember reading this. Oh my gosh.
The proceeds would have gone to Humane Society, and the readers would decide Vincent's ultimate fate. Thus, the goat who appears in issue 32 may be Vincent or may not be Vincent.
It's nice to know that at least they got a replacement goat.
Quantum is also, if you notice, a little bloated. It's the energy. It's the guilt and the energy because of his energy powers is kind of manifesting as bloating. He's getting heavier.
Wow.
And this whole thing was going to tie in with the missing issues. Quantum, now superpowered, becoming less and less human with each passing hour. Woody ends up teaming with one half of Solar, Ruben, Turok, and eventually Tempest, as they go up against Toyo Harada in an effort to thwart Harada's attempts to use Quantum for his own purposes, which we will see in 18 to 21.
Right.
A lot of this tied into Unity 2000. While Unity 2000 frigidly ignored us and resisted any logical attempts to tie into us, which included a sarcastic and hostile email from the Unity 2000 writer, who may or may not be under some delusion that he's still clout in this town.
Get them shots in.
I don't think Priest and Shooter liked each other very much.
No kidding. Wow. Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, when I was reading this issue, everything that you just explained, it's definitely not all on the table there. I didn't pick up that Quantum had these extra powers at all. That was one thing that was not completely obvious. Just like you said, you could tell he's kind of big, but I thought the goat was helping them fly for some reason. I didn't have any idea that Quantum had any powers in this. Woody clearly does.
You really don't realize until like in that page, the story, the little story be titled Tamara, and since there's quotes around it, and that's the commissioner's name, I'm assuming it's actually Joe Tamaro.
It's gotta be.
If you go to that second page after that, you see the close-up on Quantum. It doesn't really look like it too much, but if you're told he's bloated, you kind of can see it now once you realize it, but I didn't catch it initially.
Yeah.
Maybe this was supposed to be, I don't know, maybe he was down at this point, or maybe they were going to make him bigger later, but it wasn't that obvious to me.
Right. Okay.
But I guess we should have realized it when they redo the car gag from issue.
That was the next thing on my list.
Where Eric does the whole flip down with the Batman style S to get to the car. Yep. And then we have Woody jumping off the roof, flipping down into the car, waiting for Quantum, who comes down panting out of breath. She's like, elevator's out again. He's like, damn it, I left the car keys upstairs.
Yep. I'll go get him. Don't worry. You hang out down here. Yeah, doing the car gag with the new Woody was fun.
I like that part. That was fun. I like the reversal. Now,
Absolutely.
Woody's the one doing all the stuff, and Eric Quantum's like, I'm getting too old for this crap.
And then my last note really for this issue was Tempest in a wheelchair. Tempest being in a wheelchair. You barely see it unless you're paying attention.
She was hurt during the space shuttle crash.
Yeah. Yeah. And I read it twice, and the second times when I saw it, I was like, oh, what's going on here? The neat thing, and this is a tough thing to pull off, I think, sometimes. I mean, it's a pretty unique, I don't want to call it a gag, but I think it's a unique way of trying to gather interest, because the idea was to like, hey, we're at 32, guys, come on over, check this out, see what you think.
And now see how we get there.
I like that. I'm a fan of using your medium in different ways to try and get some additional readers. I'm fine with that. But man, when you go through this issue and you start pointing things out, you're like, wow, what has changed? I cannot wait to understand what exactly had changed. Now, what I didn't understand was I didn't realize that we were going to go back when I first read this until after reading some of the extra stuff afterwards. But I didn't realize that their plan was to go back. I thought they were going to start with 32 and then just keep going and not even go back at any extent. I was like,
I could see them doing that too. I could see them have done that too.
Right. That's something that I kind of was like, oh man, okay, well, they could do that, I guess. But yeah, that's all I had for that issue. It's an interesting outlier. I don't know if you have anything else on your end.
The only other thing is I'm wondering because Eric apparently has some people working for him too, like guys in armor. And I'm wondering, there was a team in the original Valiant, and I think they might have been also in the new series called Armorines.
I remember the Armorines.
And I'm wondering if that was supposed to be these guys.
Oh, that'd be cool.
I didn't read enough of this Valiant era to know who these guys were, or if they were completely brand new characters. But that's my guess, is maybe they're the Armorines.
Right. I didn't read the Armorines either. I remember them being a thing. I don't remember what they look like. I didn't make the connection, but yeah, I mean, I could see that. All right. Anything else?
Nope. I think I'm good on that.
We are about to close up shop here. We got 18 through 21, 4 issues. Let's see how things shake out here for Quantum and Woody. So from October of 99 to February of 2000, we have issues 18, 19, 20, and 21. They get published. And here is our creative team. And we get a little bit of a change here. Christopher Priest is writing all the way through. MD Bright does 18 through 20 on pencils, but then Oscar Jimenez comes in and does issue 21. And then inks Greg Adams for 18 through 20. For issue 21, Eduardo Alpuente comes in and finishes up with the final issue on inks. And then it looks like all issues have Wendy Faust-Broom as colorist. All right, here is our titles of the issues. We have issue 18, 19, and 20 are both titled Heroes, and issue 21 is titled Rebirth, which is
ironic.
Right. We're going to come back to, you mentioned him earlier, David Warren's going to be a big part of this storyline.
He used to work for their dads, and he was there when they got their powers, but vanished. Eric thought he was trying to kill them. He says, no, I was trying to get you out of there. All 3 of them got power, but he got it all himself, while the 2 of them, Quantum Woody, split it.
That's right.
Which is why he's able to, like say, well, I've seen him here. He's hanging out watching TV on the moon because he can.
Yeah, I think our introduction to him here in these issues, he's asleep and some people have showed up. Are these the members of the Sanders group?
I think so. It's a little vague, but I think they're part of his group.
All right. Well, let me get into the synopsis here and we'll get into our notes. Sit back and relax. It's a little long. Here we go. Issue 18 of Quantum picks up with the signature mix of absurdity and existential dread. The boys are holed up contemplating their cancellation, literally. With their quantum bands gone, the partnership fractured, and the narrative itself collapsing, it seems like the end. That is until a surprise phone call declares, we're bringing your book back. The promise of resurrection dangling before them, Woody, naked and inexplicably holding a flashlight, leads Eric through a mysterious, painful gateway back into action. So here we go. What follows is a chaotic roller coaster. Ambushes from the elite French SWAT teams, rooftop brawls, tactical retreats with no powers, and plenty of banter, especially as Woody discovers that Eric upgraded his gear while he slept. As bullets fly and plans fall apart, the two crash through windows, dodge lasers, and plunge deeper into trouble, only to be captured and thrown into prison. While Eric broods over their bleak future, Woody places his faith in their dimension-hopping goat Vincent. Meanwhile, on the moon, a new cosmic player named Warrant engages in cryptic games and power moves, joined by the mysterious Lysander in a tension-laden descent into the hidden facility known as Luna Watch. Back on Earth, the duo debates heroes, villains, and whether Warrant can be trusted. I think this is the point where Woody starts yelling Warrant. David! Yelling for Warrant to come and rescue him. Until salvation arrives in the most shocking form. Nicole Aston Gray, Eric's mother, posts their bail and drops a bombshell with her very presence. Her reintroduction throws both men off balance. Eric emotionally, Woody hormonally. It's a cliffhanger loaded with promise as the boys emerge battered, bailed out, and very much not in control of the story that's now charging towards something far stranger than mere superheroics. The next issue opens with a flashback disguised as a melodramatic soap opera. A young Eric and Woody play cowboy and devil, which makes sense, while their mothers, Nicole and Lucy, argue. Nicole's cold pragmatism clashes with Lucy's emotional turmoil, and the aftermath leads to a devastating crash that marks Eric for life. In the present, Eric finally confronts Nicole, only to find her as cold and calculating as ever. Meanwhile, the flamboyant Lysander introduces Warrant to a surreal lunar sanctuary, revealing the remnants of the Forever family ravaged by a mysterious plague that even time-warping science can't cure. So the Forever family, and I noticed there was the Eternal Warriors, where that name was thrown around a little bit too. They're related, or they are the same?
They're related. So the only thing I got from the context, they didn't really have an ongoing series. They had like a couple one-shots. So I'm guessing most of the main Eternal Warrior characters are dead now, it looks like.
Yeah, I remember. I was just going to say Ivar. They mentioned Ivar, which I think was Ivar the Time Walker.
Valiant.
Right.
And all I can see is apparently it was not just a few of them, like it was in the original Valiant. There was a whole group of them. And apparently most of them are now dead.
Yeah. Because
of Toyo Harada. Like I said, this was the stuff he was going to be doing that was going to lead towards the Unity 2000 stuff. Toyo Harada was like the big, just like, you know, he was the big bad guy, one of the big bad guys of Valiant, because he was the big bad guy from the original Harbinger series. Back on Earth, Woody tries to symbolically destroy his superhero past, but the universe, or perhaps Eric's practical foresight, won't let him. His fireproof costume refuses to burn. His melodramatic gesture undercut by sprinklers and smoldering sarcasm. Meanwhile, Tempest reflects on identity in one of Eric's old suits. Woody, now unlinked from Eric, bursts in with pizza and bravado, declaring independence. The narrative ricochets from absurdity to political maneuvering as Nicole and Toyo Harada spar over stolen tech and Eric's true role in their global games. Harada leaves a cryptic warning about a world-ending threat only quantum energy can stop, energy that Eric no longer possesses. As the issue ends, Eric is left in the dust, powerless but perhaps not irrelevant. The storm is coming. In Quantum and Woody number 20, the story kicks off with Quantum crashing through a window in dramatic superhero fashion, confronting a room full of armed police. Though he initially urges calm, his actions escalate quickly when he summons a mysterious energy weapon, which I think is a like bolo or whatever it was, and launches it at the officers, causing a fiery explosion. In the aftermath, Inspector LeVar proposes a deal. He'll provide the control bands that Quantum seeks, but only if Quantum agrees to a favor. Meanwhile, the media celebrates Quantum's exploits. This, I think, is the favor, I believe.
Yeah, he rescued some people from a building that had terrorists that were going to blow it up. He's like, if they see cops, they're going to blow it up anyway. So, you know, either it's going to blow up or this guy stops it. And he saves them.
This is, I don't think I put this in my notes. I'm better bring it up right now. Okay, so he makes the save and everybody loves him. Everybody loves him.
He's Jerry Lewis.
The French love him. But what's interesting is that we talked a lot about this in our previous volumes. I think this was in issue 32 as well. But Eric has always had this thing about being taken seriously, especially as a hero. Now he's in Paris and he finally feels like he's able to be a successful hero and that people love him as a hero. So that's the idea I got here. He made this save and finally people love him and he's happy with that. Back in his beaver costume, I think it was a beaver costume that Woody had. I can't remember. He was like the mascot.
He was working as like security guard for like this toy store.
This interaction was hilarious because clearly the woman, I don't know if that was Amy, when Woody's laying in bed and he has the costume on, he's laying in bed watching these news broadcasts of quantum success for being a hero. He just basically consumes them. I believe there was some intent to have some furry action here. I'm just saying that I think that might be why he's in the costume.
That's possible.
That is a possibility. But anyway, back in his beaver costume, Woody lounges in bed, lamenting the current state of their fractured partnership and mocking Quantum's new team hero direction. Things take a surreal turn when Woody stumbles across a comic book, Dark Kitty, that inexplicably features a character resembling himself. The comic recounts a wild, absurd battle involving a monstrous Viagra mutated villain called the Improbable Unwieldy Mass. Woody's mix of amusement and existential reflection gives way to renewed motivation not to become the hero. Quantum, meanwhile, reconnects with Toyo Harada on a Dallas rooftop. Harada outlines the looming global threat and explains the nature of the quantum field energy that once powered Quantum and his allies. The key to saving the planet, Harada claims, lies in regaining that power, and the only way to do that is for David Warrant to die. I mean, he's just hanging out on the moon. On the moon, Warren himself is in the midst of trying to save Lysander's people from the deadly virus. The cure is nearly within reach, but it requires a final risky contribution of Warren's nuclear-based power, his literal spark of life. As the issue closes, moral dilemmas abound. Quantum is being manipulated into seeing death as the path to salvation, while Warren is poised to sacrifice a little bit of himself to heal others. Woody, comic book in hand and lawsuit on his mind, might be the only one grounded in reality, however ridiculous that reality might be. And then we get into Quantum and Woody, number 21. The story opens with high-stakes cosmic drama as Warrant uses his quantum energy to try and cure the plague decimating Lysander's people. With flaming energy coursing through him and the fate of a species in his hands, Warrant performs a desperate act of molecular reconfiguration, science so advanced it teeters on godlike. Meanwhile, Quantum is lured by Toyo Harada into confronting his past, with Harada revealing the original isolation chamber that gave him and Woody their powers. Harada tempts Quantum with the opportunity to regain his abilities, though this time without reconnecting with Woody. The promise of godlike power and the fear of Warrant being its sole wielder eats at Eric. Back on Earth, Woody marches into Marvel Comics demanding answers over the suspicious similarities between his life and their Dark Kitty comic. Chaos breaks out in the offices as staff scramble to manage the PR nightmare of a real-life superhero threatening litigation. Woody meets Ruben, an unsuspecting editor, suddenly promoted, hilariously half threatens him, half befriends him. This side plot satirizes the comic industry. Yes, we know that for sure. As the lunar...
it does more than that, but yeah, we'll get to that when we get to the notes of this.
As the lunar experiment pushes Warrant to the brink of transcendence, Quantum is prepped for re-entry into the quantum field via the isolation chamber, but all is not well. Sydney, now revealed as half of Solar, recruits Woody and Ruben for a daring rescue as Harada's plan spirals out of control. Explosions rock the facility, and the power shared by Quantum and Warrant becomes dangerously unstable. They arrive just as reality starts to fray, and the stakes climb toward literal Armageddon. The final pages, Quantum emerges reborn, glowing with immense power. Harada smugly declares he's saved everyone, but no one believes him. In a moment of frustration and poor aim, Woody fires a shot at Quantum and misses, and apparently believes he has hit the moon.
But that's just the whole war and stuff going on.
Right.
But it's great. You blew up the moon.
It took me 2 reads to be like, did he actually hit the moon and blow it up? What kind of weapon is this? And I'm like, oh, wait, that was going on as well. The resulting planetary scale explosion shocks everyone into silence. The issue closes on the jaw-dropping spectacle, a moment that simultaneously symbolizes the absurdity, ambition, and chaotic brilliance of the entire series. It's both the climax and unintentional apocalypse, with Woody's trigger finger quite possibly ending the world as they knew it. I'm going to step back and let you go first after this. So what are your notes there? What do you got? What do you want to say?
All right, I'm just shooting back to the first part to get to it. The first part is reestablishing everything. That first issue. Quan and Woody are trapped in Paris with no powers, end up getting arrested. We see where Warren's hanging out. I love the part with Warren. He's just napping in his chair.
He's just laying there, and then they can't communicate. Or in space. It's not going to work. But he uses the TV to be like...
He points at the TV and says, "Don't make me kill you." And then he goes back to laying down, closing his eyes, like, "Look, just leave me alone."
There's a lot of discussion in this last bit about hero and villain for Warren, which is pretty important, because what we find as he and Lysander are having this conversation, Lysander is, what's it going to be? Are you going to be hero or villain? And of course, Warrant's like, I'm going to try and save your people. I never got the feeling that Warrant was going to be a villain, although there was a lot of times where he's just like, why do I even have to make a decision? I don't have to be one or the other. Just leave me alone. Let me sleep on the moon.
Problem is, according to the notes from what they have for the future, basically all this stuff was going to basically push him into being a villain, because they're doing so much to him that he has to fight back. And that makes him now be the villain. By choosing to do one, he's actually being forced to do the other. He would have been better off just hanging out and watching TV. So the Dark Kitty stuff, that is the Black Panther. The plan was, this was supposed to come out at the same time as Black Panther 15. And the Dark Kitty pages included in issue 20 were, as Priest says, nearly a panel-by-panel spoof of Black Panther 15 and should have helped promote both books. Only Acclaim did not ship their end for 6 weeks. So it was late. So that screwed up. Now, that was helped out by a Priest editor at Marvel for Black Panther, Ruben Diaz, who was now actually going to become a reoccurring cast member.
I love the meta touches that this book has. Priest uses it to get a joke across or make it funny or make it hilarious and have this extra touch to it, which I absolutely adore. I think it's one of the things that makes this book stand out, in my opinion. So that story right there is great. That's an awesome story.
And the friendship / rival, threat from Woody between Ruby and Ruben was great. It was just kind of like one of those wrong place, wrong time. You're not part of the superhero stuff. Suck it up and deal. That was amusing. I would have liked to see more of that, but unfortunately, of course, that's it. The other thing I want to talk about really is the background story, the backup, the flashback story of them as kids.
Dude.
And reading that, because you realize Eric's mom, because we've known both their dads died right before issue 1. That's what starts the series. We know from the flashbacks Woody's mom died of a drug overdose. We never saw anything about Eric's mom. We had no idea what was happening with her. So after this accident, Eric, basically they get divorced and she goes away, and Eric's dad tells him, "Oh, your mom's dead."
Right.
She says, "I didn't know you were in the car." It looks like the kids are playing and they're taking Woody in the car. Maybe she wasn't that good a mother. This is the early 80s. There really weren't a lot of kids' seats or anything. Half the time you just sat in the back seat. You were on the floor half the time even. Was it the safest thing? No, but it's not like that was a parental neglect thing. That's just how kind of things were. Half the time kids rattled in someone's lap.
Right.
But I mean, so the fact that, and she wasn't the one driving, it was Woody's mom who was very emotional and driving caused the accident. She said, "I didn't know you were in the car." The kids were all there playing, and then Woody was brought into the car. So did you just forget that you were supposed to take him?
Yeah.
There's no way that works out without her being not that great, not paying attention to her kid.
Right.
It makes no sense otherwise. So Woody's dad, if we remember, because Woody is like a 11 or 12-year-old, was like, "I guess I want to live with my mom," when the parents got divorced, punishes him with "Oh, well, now every year you didn't live with me until you're 18, you have to wait an extra 2 years to get your money." So is the best father Eric's, who lied and told him his mother was dead? Is that the best parent out of them all? Maybe these two are messed up. They are running around in skin-tight spandex.
Right. It's funny. My mom had just told me a story. It was a few weeks ago. She was talking about how first time I went down to Myrtle Beach with them when I was a kid. I was like 2 years old. She said that we went down in a van and they put the playpen in the van and just let me hang out in the playpen the whole time. Yeah. No car seat, no seat belt. I'm just in the van in my playpen as they drive us down to Myrtle Beach. That's the way it was back in the 80s.
Taking trips, I thought they were long. They could have just been a half hour, but when you're 7, that's forever. I'd be sitting in the backseat of the car. I would sit on the floor sometimes because it was more comfortable at times. So like, I sit in the car floor. Like, what if someone hit us on the side?
Lay down on the seats, take a nap. Go ahead and do it. Yeah, man,
and
it's a good point.
And I maybe wonder if this accident was part of the cause for Eric's heart condition. Like, I wonder if he would have gotten that eventually. Dude.
The whole point of that flashback is like, okay, look at kind of what happened here with the number one, the parent, the moms, what was going on. She has a 4-year-old and she is not even 21. I don't remember if you remember that reading that.
Oh, Lucy. Yeah. Woody's mom.
So that means she was pregnant at 16. If he's 4, then and she ain't even 21 yet, then at least 16, which is again, messed up.
Considering what they were doing and how they were, he could not have been 17 years old. It had to be bare minimum 25, possibly 30. Is Eric's father the best one? The one who lies and says your mother is dead? I hate to say yes, but I think that might be the best parent.
There's a few moments. There's still a good bit of humor in this book. There's a point where I think the Quantum either got shot. I think he got shot. He's okay, but he was talking about he got the wind knocked out of him.
Yes.
And he goes, it's just wind. And Woody goes, yes, which confirms everything I've been saying about you. Funny stuff. At one point, I think they are in the prison and Woody has the
magazine?
Playboy. Playboy by the name of Le Nipulage.
Yes. How does he get that all of a sudden?
It's good stuff. Eric and his relationship with his mom, we kind of talked about that already. She has no interest. And I think he tries to call her mom at one point. Eric gets upset when she doesn't refer to him as her son. He's wanting something there, and she's clearly not interested at all.
Well, it's the only parent any of them has left. And it's right. Like, oh, and you're not dead. It's not just the only parent has left. It's like, oh, one of my dead parents is back.
Right.
Oh, and you don't care at all.
That's rough. I mean, that's harsh. Woody has to deal with being a citizen.
Yeah. Woody, for all his BS of wanting to not do this, kind of got into it because he helps Tempest with a little sting operation and then is told he's not allowed to, he's only was allowed to basically kind of root them out.
Right.
But then he can't be involved in it. And then later on sees some stuff and wants to get involved, but realizes he doesn't have powers or anything. For all you were saying that, Eric, you kind of got into it, though.
I think he recognizes it, too. At one point, he says something. He goads himself for, dang it, I'm catching it. I'm catching whatever Eric had. He didn't realize that this was something that he wanted to do at all.
I think the whole Dark Kitty thing was actually him just trying to distract himself. Like, I need something to do, because otherwise, what am I going to do if I keep wanting to do this stupid, BS? I don't want to do the stupid BS, even though I want to.
Yeah. He's conflicted just a little bit. Woody realizing he wants to be a hero.
Dark Kitty. I'm on that page now. Oh, God, it's him. He's infected me. I've got Eric disease.
I like how we're looking in the pages of Dark Kitty and we're using the small titles again at the top of each section, one of which says annoying time jump, which was pretty funny. I like that. Again, poking fun at itself. Marvel Comics, good stuff there.
The Woody character is Everett Ross. If you remember him from the Black Panther series, he was in the Black Panther movies.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I forget the name of the actor, but he's the one who played Watson in the Sherlock series with Benedict Cumberbatch. Okay. And I'm pretty sure he played Bilbo Baggins in the Hobbit movies.
Okay. Yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about.
That's the Woody character, quote unquote, in Dark Kitty. Martin Freeman.
Okay.
And actually, I remember these issues. It's been a while, but I remember issue 15 of Black Panther. I remember having the Hulk in there. Yeah. In fact, going back to the Dark Kitty stuff, these are definite parodies of the pages. I remember there were parts of those issues where he's talking to his ex-girlfriend, who is his boss, and she's like, "Why can't you start a story from the beginning and go to the end?" Which is literally right here. Russ, not Ross. Which is kind of funny. Because my wife had on some Friends the other day and actually had the episode with Ross and Russ. If you remember that.
Nice. Very nice.
But yeah, Ross, you do this every time. Can't you just tell a story from beginning to end without jumping around? My mom dropped me on my head a lot.
Not a very flattering depiction of Woody there. That's funny. So I got down here. We meet Ruben, which is pretty cool. Ruben comes along for the adventure. Sydney gets him all dressed up, and he's in action along with Woody when they go to attack the facility, which is pretty cool. Then we have Father, Son, Holy Goat, Unity, Trinity, which I thought was pretty funny. That was a neat way of storytelling. Again, I've talked about this on previous episodes. They're still keeping it up here. When they do this flashback, it's not as annoying as I think they're hitting themselves with, but watching these events play out where Warrant is on the moon going through whatever he's going through this. Then we have Quantum going through what Harada's putting him through. And we're watching all of that unfold. And that's where we get Father, Son, Holy Goat, Unity, Trinity. Woody blows up the moon, which I had to read twice because I thought he actually did shoot the moon. And I was like, oh, wait a second. Never mind.
That's the explosion happening with, Warren's powers.
And then the last thing I had written down here is canceled again.
Yep. Acclaim finally shut down and everything got canceled, including, like you said, their big miniseries, Unity 2000, which was going to have Toyo Harada as one of the big bad guys.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you're going to do a translation of, like, characters, he's kind of their Doom in, like, the fact that he thinks, like, I'm going to save the world. Granted, I might have to kill all these people, but I'll save the world. And it's kind of like Doom's way of doing things. Doom's like, I should be in charge. If it's necessary to save the rest of the world, I might have to sacrifice a continent, but I'll save everyone else.
Yeah.
And that's what he's like, which is kind of ironic then that the way that Warren's going to become a villain is because of Eric working with the bad guy.
I hated to see it go. I know it's going to come back in a different form here. And when did you say it was 2011?
Valiant came back. They brought back Quantum and Valiant came back again for a third time. Quantum and Woody was one of the books that they did, but it was a complete reimagining.
It was a different creative team, right?
And different versions of. Eventually, a couple years later, they did Q2, The Return of Quantum and Woody, the 5-issue miniseries with Priest and Bright, wrapping up these original versions of the characters.
Got it.
So they did get an ending.
Well, good.
Eventually.
Because they just.
It's been a long time since I read it. It probably did not come right after. It probably does not jump right to the end of 21.
Mm-hmm.
But it gave him an ending eventually.
That was 2013 when the first reboot happened. And then Q2 hits the next year or so after that.
Okay,
2014.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, there it is, man. We did it. I didn't know if you had any other notes, but we have covered this first series of Quantum and Woody. I had a blast. I'm so glad that I read these comics. I'm so glad I got exposed to some of Christopher Priest stuff. I'm trying to think if I've ever read anything previously. I definitely haven't read a series with him, but this stood out.
I like him a lot as a writer. He's done a lot of different stuff. He did recently for DC, he did Deathstroke, the most recent Deathstroke series. The best thing to read by him is his Black Panther run.
I was going to say
the Marvel Knights Black Panther run, 62 issues. It's amazing. I mean, he did a lot of stuff for DC. The problem was he had a thing called he called it the Priest Curse, where he would get books, but they would get canceled. But half the time they would get canceled like 6 months later. So you can't really blame him. Like Mark Waid and Andy Kubert started in the late 90s at a Kazar series. And they were on to like issue 15 or 16. And it was selling great because it's Mark Waid and Andy Kubert in the late 90s. And then he came on with a new penciler, and like 5 issues by 19 was canceled. But he also did the last year of the Steel series. He also has a nice chunk of Deadpool in the middle of the Deadpool's first series.
Okay.
It was Joe Kelly, I believe, was the writer of like the first 30-something issues.
Right.
And then he came on for a couple of years. And then I believe Gail Simone ended series. He also did a lot of Justice League Task Force, The Ray, like a lot of minor books.
The Ray. Right. Well, like I said, I had a blast, man. I look forward to if we talk about Quantum and Woody anymore in the future. I'm down for it for sure. Obviously, there was some chaos as far as publication goes here. I imagine it was really tough to try and nail down a consistent narrative. And then a lot of stuff fell short because it was just canceled again. So reading this third volume, I like the first two better because it feels like our first story was like Woody is unhinged and he's going to murder somebody. Then when all of this stuff happens where they split, book gets canceled. Next thing you know, you're into 32. And 32 is like, okay, what happened? I'm putting things together, but you're missing a whole chunk. Then you get into 18 through 21, which is doing good. We're going to build to 32, but we're not going to get there. We're only going to get 4 issues and it's just going to be gone again. It was heartbreaking, I guess. Maybe that's what makes me say I don't like it as much as the first 2 that we talked about, because there's so much more left on the table. Unfortunately, you get that with a lot of canceled books.
Because unfortunately, like you said, the issues in the first 2 volumes, the book was still ongoing. There were places to go. You can see where he was seeding stuff. You can see the stuff that was being wrapped up, how they were moving and progressing, and that was happening. And then here, it's like multiple times of the floor being pulled out and having to stop and restart. Unfortunately, it does affect the story itself.
Yeah.
It's not like they knew when they did 17, you kind of had an idea that it was being canceled. That's why they had that whole thing in the issue of we're canceled. But when the 21 came out, they were still working on further issues. There's some artwork and synopsis from Unity 2000 up to issue 6 because it was being done. It just, the company stopped publishing. It's not even like they were like, okay, guys, sorry, you're canceled now. It's like, you're canceled. With Quantum Woody, they're up to issue 27. Oh, now, as of this issue? No, issue 21 is going to be the last one. We finished that like 4 months ago. We've done the next several issues. Nope, not coming out. Sorry.
As a creator, and as much love as they put into this book, too, I would have hated to have been Christopher Priest and MD Bright. It would have just torn me apart. I feel sorry for those guys because you could tell they put a lot of love into this, for sure.
A lot of themselves, like what the information you had and also what I saw on Priest's website, there was a lot of themselves in Quantum and Woody.
Oh, yeah. I remember reading a little bit about that.
They had a lot of, their relationship was sometimes in ways very similar. They loved each other. They were great together, but they also at times wanted to kill each other.
Right.
You could see a lot of themselves in that book, but unfortunately,
that is what it is.
Plus, I was kind of amused by seeing Ruben Diaz as a character.
Yeah, no kidding. That was pretty funny. All right, let's get into closing this out. That was a lot of fun. Thanks again for coming on and talking Quantum and Woody. We finished it out.
No, I'm glad to reread it again. I love this stuff. I started picking this book up, like I said, probably before issue 3 or 4, and then went back and grabbed it. So I was reading this as it came out. It's also easier to read a book like this all together.
Yeah, 100%.
Instead of waiting a month or months between issues.
Oh, them getting those books late, it's rough on the reader. All right, man, let's let them have it. I want to know, and I want our people to know where they can find you and hear you out there in podcast land.
If you want to hear more from me, I have my main show, Resurrections, an Adam Warlock and Thanos podcast, which is mostly about the characters Adam Warlock and Thanos and some other cosmic characters from Marvel, like Death. So we have it. So go to just type in Adam Warlock or Thanos, whatever podcatcher you use, and it'll pop up. I also have on that same feed, because I'm too cheap to spend $100 or so for another podcast feed. I have a second show I've started recently. It's a kind of monthly show, so that's why I don't need a second feed, called That Giffen Show, which is about the work of Keith Giffen. So there's only 2 episodes of that one so far about Giffen's work on the Justice Society in the 70s. But we already have stuff recorded about Giffen's work writing the Suicide Squad in 2001. So that's going to be coming up in a couple months.
Nice.
Yep. You can find me on X and Blue Sky at Adam Thanos Pod. And also on Blue Sky, we have a thing for That Giffen Show.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the Source Material Comics Podcast. We talk about comic books of any era. Right now, as we record, me and Mark Radlich are finishing up our series on Sons of Anarchy, Redwood Original. The 3rd volume of that's going to be dropping pretty soon. It's a prequel to about 10 years prior to Jax being part of Sons of Anarchy when he first prospected. And then the Unspoken Issues podcast, where we discuss 90s comics all the time. Myself and Chris Armstrong got together recently and discussed the 3rd in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles adaptation of the movie. That's right. We talked about the TMNT3 comic book adaptation and compared it to the movie. And I even give you a little breakdown of the soundtrack. So I listened to the soundtrack of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 a lot that week. And I had a lot to say about how it was the lowest effort soundtrack I've ever heard in my entire life. Check that out. Of course, me and Evan Bevins get together once a month and drop some knowledge on Marvel Snap. If you have Marvel Snap on your phone, me and Evan Bevins, we get together. We talk about the previous season, the upcoming season, top 5. We do tier lists now. We have a lot of fun doing that on some of the cards that you can play. Good time all around. Speaking of good times, I had a good time here. That over there is Al Sedano. I am Jesse Starcher. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We'll talk to you soon. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us. All of this would not be possible without w2mnet.com, so make sure to seek them out for more podcasts. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please feel free to share, and we look forward to entertaining you again soon.